Daniel had helped Michelle pack for 100 trips in 19 years. He knew the drill. Roll the shirts, don't fold them. Shoes go in the bag on the bottom. Toiletries in a gallon bag, because the airline never checks a cruise line's rules the same way twice. He didn't expect the box. 3 boxes, actually. Sitting there on the bed next to her sunscreen, like they belonged. Michelle, She didn't even look up from the mirror, working an earring into place. What's this? She glanced over. Didn't flinch. That was the first thing he noticed. No flinch. Oh, that's just Karen's idea. It's a whole bit. Every year somebody brings something ridiculous and we all laugh about it. 3 boxes is a bit. It's a joke, Dan. She turned back to the mirror. Don't be weird about it. He picked one up, turned it over in his hand, like it might explain itself if he looked at it long enough. It didn't. Weird, he repeated. Yes. Now she did look at him, and there was something in her face he couldn't quite name. Not guilt, not exactly. More like impatience, like he was a child asking why the sky was blue for the 9th time that day. It's Renee's cruise too, you know how she is. She'll probably bring worse. Renee. Of course, Renee. He set the box down. Didn't say anything else. She finished with her earrings, zipped the suitcase, kissed him on the cheek on her way out to load the car, already talking about whether she'd packed enough sunscreen, whether the marina had parking, whether they'd left in time to beat the traffic. Normal. All of it. Completely normal. He stood in the bedroom a long moment after she'd gone downstairs, listening to her voice carry up through the floor, cheerful, unbothered. He thought about the way she hadn't flinched. 19 years, he thought. 19 years, and he knew every version of her face. The one she wore when she was hiding something from him about a surprise party. The one from the year she'd dented the car and practiced her explanation in the bathroom mirror before she ever said a word to him. He knew what her face did when she was lying. She hadn't done any of that, which meant either it really was nothing, or she'd stopped worrying whether he'd notice. He sat down on the edge of the bed and took out his phone. Scrolled, without really deciding to, until he found the name he was looking for. Renee. Still saved from some barbecue years back, when she'd needed his number to send him a recipe Michelle wanted. He didn't call. Not yet. He just sat there, thumb hovering over the screen, turning something over in his mind that didn't have a shape yet, only a weight, sitting low in his chest, the kind that doesn't go away just because you tell yourself it should. Downstairs, a car door shut. Michelle, calling up that she was leaving now. Love you. See you Sunday. He didn't answer right away. He didn't call Renee that night, or the next. He told himself he wasn't going to call her at all, that whatever this feeling was, it would pass the way most bad feelings did, if he just gave it a few days and kept his hands busy. He mowed the lawn that didn't need mowing. He fixed a cabinet hinge that had been squeaking since spring. He lay awake next to the indent Michelle's absence left in the mattress and told the ceiling he was being ridiculous. It didn't pass. By Thursday, he had the cruise line's website open on his laptop, scrolling through cabin availability like a man looking for a reason to stop himself. Some smaller inside cabin, 3 decks down from wherever Michelle and her group would be. Cheap enough, easy enough to book without a conversation with anyone. He called Renee before he could think better of it. She picked up on the 3rd ring. Background noise. A television, maybe. Or a store. Daniel, everything okay? Is Michelle? She's fine. She's fine. He stopped. Started over. I need to talk to somebody. Not Michelle. Can I ask you something, and you don't tell her I asked? A pause on the line. When Renee spoke again, her voice had changed. Careful now. like she was walking into a room she couldn't see the corners of. That depends what it is. I'm coming on the cruise. You're... A short laugh, disbelieving. Dan, that's a girl's trip. You know that. I know. I'm not. I don't want anyone to know I'm there. I just need to see something for myself. He rubbed a hand over his face, glad she couldn't see him. I need someone there who knows, in case I lose my nerve and need talking out of it, or talking into it. I don't even know which. Another pause. Longer this time. What did you see, Daniel? He told her about the boxes, said it plainly, without dressing it up, because he didn't have the energy to dress it up. When he finished, she didn't say what he expected, didn't laugh it off, didn't tell him Michelle would never. She just said quietly, okay. Okay. Book the cabin. I'll cover for you if it comes to that. But Daniel, her voice dropped, gentler than he'd heard it in years. If you're wrong about this, you're going to owe her an apology the size of that boat. And if you're right... She didn't finish the sentence. Neither of them said what came after right. The morning of departure, he sat in his truck in the marina parking lot 2 rows back from where Michelle had parked her sedan, watching her roll her suitcase toward the gangway, laughing at something one of the other women said, sunglasses pushed up into her hair. She looked happy. She looked like a woman with nothing to hide. He hated how much that unsettled him. Renee found him 20 minutes later at the far end of the terminal, sunglasses of her own, a duffel over one shoulder. She looked him over the way she used to look over a bad decision before she talked someone out of it. You look terrible, she said. Thank you. I mean it. You look like a man about to do something he can't take back. She shifted the duffel, glanced toward the ship. Last chance. We can still turn around. He looked past her, at the boat, at the gangway where Michelle had already disappeared inside. No, he said. We can't. They boarded 20 minutes apart, on opposite sides of the same ship, one deck between the truth and whatever Daniel was about to go looking for it. The welcome dinner was held in the main dining room, all crystal and white tablecloths, and a string quartet doing its best with pop songs from 30 years back. Daniel sat at a table near the far wall, 3 tables removed from where Michelle and her group had been seated, a baseball cap pulled low, feeling every bit as foolish as he looked. He'd told himself he wouldn't do this, that he'd stay in the cabin, let the whole idea die a quiet death somewhere over open water. Instead, here he was, watching his wife of 19 years laugh at something Karen said, tip her wine glass, glance, just once, toward the door every time it opened. Was that normal? Was that the thing wives did, checking a door? Or was he inventing a pattern out of nothing because his mind needed one? Renee slid into the seat across from him without being asked, still in the dress she'd worn to board, sunglasses gone now, and her face was not amused. You're doing surveillance, she said. On a boat, at a formal dinner. I'm having dinner. You're staring at your wife over a breadbasket like a man in a spy movie, and it's making me deeply uncomfortable to be your accomplice. She glanced toward Michelle's table herself, and something crossed her face. Quick, gone before he could read it fully. She looks happy, Daniel. I know. Does that bother you more or less than if she looked guilty? He didn't have an answer for that. He turned his water glass slowly on the tablecloth instead, watching the condensation ring it left behind, and said nothing. You didn't bring me on this boat to babysit you through dinner, Renee said finally, leaning back. You called me because you needed somebody who'd tell you the truth even if you didn't want it. So, you want the truth? That's why I called. I think you're scared, she said. Not of what she did, of what you'll do if it turns out she didn't do anything at all. Because then, this, she gestured between them, the cabin, The whole elaborate mess of it. This is on you, not her. He met her eyes for the first time since she'd sat down. There was no judgment in them, which was somehow worse than if there had been. "You didn't bring me here to talk," she said, quieter now. "So talk. What are you actually afraid of?" The quartet shifted into something slower. Across the room, Michelle laughed again, bright and easy, and did not look toward him once. The deck was empty past 11. Most of the ship's noise pulled down into the casino and the late lounge acts, leaving only the wind and the black water and the low hum of the engines somewhere far beneath their feet. Daniel had come up to be alone. Renee had followed him anyway. "You're not sleeping," she said, coming to stand beside him at the rail. Not a question. "No. Me neither." She wrapped her arms around herself against the wind. For a while, neither of them said anything, just watched the wake churn white behind the ship and vanish into the dark. "Can I tell you something? And you let me finish before you say anything back." He nodded. "I used to be a little jealous of her," Renee said. "Michelle, not because of you. God, not because of you. Don't flatter yourself." A small, tired laugh. "Because of how easy she made it look. 20 years. And I never once saw the two of you run out of things to say to each other. I was married 4 years and ran out in 1. It's not always easy," he said. "Lately it hasn't been." "I know. That's why you're up here instead of in a cabin 3 decks up, pretending to sleep next to a suspicion you can't prove." She looked over at him, over at Amast. "For what it's worth, for whatever it's worth coming from me, I don't think she's capable of what you're afraid of." Huh? "Then why do I feel like this?" "Because you love her," Renee said simply. "And loving somebody for that long means you never stop being a little bit afraid of losing them. That's not proof of anything. That's just what it costs." He didn't answer. The wind picked up, and she shivered, and without quite deciding to, he shifted half a step closer, angling his shoulder to break some of it for her. She didn't move away. "Daniel." "Yeah. You're standing very close." "I know." Neither of them moved. The ship rolled, gentle, and the rail was cold under his hands, and Renee was looking up at him, with an expression he hadn't let himself name yet. And for one long, suspended moment, the only sound in the world was the water and his own heartbeat. Too loud, too fast. Her hand found his arm. Just rested there, warm, where the wind had gone cold. "Say something," she whispered, "or don't. But decide." He looked at her, really looked, the way he hadn't let himself look at anyone but Michelle in 19 years, and felt the distance between them close by inches he hadn't chosen to give up. Her breath caught. His did too. And then, from somewhere below them, a burst of laughter carried up from an open cabin window. A woman's laugh, unmistakable even from 3 decks down, and Daniel went still as stone. Michelle's laugh. He stepped back so fast he nearly lost his footing. "Daniel, I need to go," he said, and left her standing alone at the rail, the wind pulling at her dress, the moment unfinished, and already turning to something closer to shame. He didn't sleep. He lay in the narrow bed of his inside cabin, turning over what had almost happened, what he had almost let happen. Until the porthole-less dark gave no clue whether it was 2 in the morning or 5. By the time the ship's clock read 7, he'd made a decision he should have made 3 days earlier. He found Michelle at breakfast, alone at a small table on the pool deck, and the sight of him, unriven, wearing yesterday's shirt, clearly not a passenger on her manifest, stopped her mid-sip of her coffee. "Daniel?" She set the cup down so fast it rattled. "What?" How are you here? I need to ask you something, and I need the truth, and I need it now. She was on her feet, taking in the wrinkled shirt, the exhaustion in his face, real alarm rising in her own. You're scaring me. What is going on? The boxes. He said it flat, no preamble left in him. Michelle, what were the boxes for? For a moment, she just stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Then, something shifted in her face. Not guilt, he realized slowly. Something closer to grief. You flew across the country in your head, she said quietly, over a joke gift for Renee. What? They weren't mine, Daniel. They were a gag gift. For her. Karen's idea. Because Renee's been so miserable since the divorce, moping around every trip like she forgot how to have fun. And we thought, God, it was stupid. It was supposed to be funny. We thought if we teased her about finally meeting someone on this cruise, made a whole ridiculous bit out of it, she might actually loosen up and try. She pressed a hand to her forehead. I packed them in my bag because I didn't want her digging through her own suitcase and finding them early and ruining the surprise. That's the whole story. That's all it ever was. He stood there. The floor didn't feel entirely solid. You've been acting strange for days, Michelle said, quieter now, working it out even as she said it. You didn't come see me off strange. You've been like this since I packed. Daniel, did you think? Her eyes widened, understanding arriving all at once, ugly and complete. You thought I was… That's why you're here. You got on this ship because you thought I was cheating on you. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. And that was when Renee appeared at the edge of the pool deck, having clearly come looking for him after last night, stopping dead at the sight of the two of them standing together. Michelle's face open with hurt and disbelief, Daniel's with something that looked a great deal like shame. Michelle looked between them. Once. Twice. Renee, she said slowly, why do you look like you've seen a ghost? Nobody answered that either. The silence stretched long enough that Daniel understood he had to be the one to break it. He owed that much, at least. The truth. Even the parts that would cost him. Nothing happened, he said. Then, because it wasn't entirely true. Because Michelle deserved better than a lie shaped like the truth. Almost. Last night. On the deck. It didn't go further than a moment, but it almost did. And that's on me, not her. Renee didn't try to soften it. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself, looking like she wanted the deck to open up and take her with it. Michelle's face did something he'd never seen it do before. Not anger exactly, though the anger was there, banked under something colder. Betrayal wearing the face of calm. So, she said slowly, you suspected me of something I never did. Followed me onto a boat. Brought my best friend along as your… What? Your alibi? Your consolation prize? And in the middle of accusing me of a lie, you very nearly told one of your own. Michelle. No. She held up a hand, and it was steady, which somehow made it worse. I need you to hear how this sounds. You didn't trust me enough to just ask. 19 years, and instead of a conversation, I get a stranger in my own life for 4 days, staring at me over dinner like I'm a suspect. I know how it sounds. Do you? Her voice cracked on the second word, the calm finally giving way. Because from where I'm standing, you were so sure I'd betray you that you went looking for a way to do it first. He had no answer for that, because it was true, and there was no dressing it up to be anything else. Renee stepped forward, finally, her voice unsteady. Michelle, I should have called you the second he showed up. I should never have gotten on that ship. I'm not going to pretend I don't owe you that. We'll talk, Michelle said to her, not unkindly, but with a distance in it that hadn't been there yesterday. Not now. Give me a minute with my husband." Renee left them there. The pool deck had begun to fill around them, families and coffee cups, an ordinary morning noise, and Daniel and Michelle stood in the middle of it, like the only two people on the ship who weren't on vacation at all. "I don't know how we come back from this," Michelle said finally, quiet now, tired. "Not today. Maybe not this week. I know. But I'm not ready to say we can't." She looked at him, really looked, searching his face for something. "You scared me, Daniel. Not because you thought I'd cheat, because you decided you already knew the answer before you ever asked me the question. That's not a marriage. That's a man convicting his wife in his own head and never giving her the chance to defend herself." "I won't do it again," he said. "I mean that. Whatever it takes to earn back the benefit of the doubt, I'll do it. Slowly, if that's what it needs to be." She didn't answer right away. She looked out at the water instead, the same water he'd stared into the night before, searching for an answer that had been 3 decks below him the whole time. "Slowly," she said at last. "Sounds about right." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a door left open instead of shut. And after 4 days of building a case against a woman who'd done nothing wrong, Daniel understood that an open door was more than he'd earned. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. Didn't squeeze back, not yet. But she let him hold it. And for now, on a ship still 3 days from home, that would have to be enough.